when you look back on your most prolific or successful client projects, what packaging options did they go with that maybe made a big difference? And what I mean by that is that I think sometimes someone will write a script, and then the first thing they'll do is a mediocre poster, but they'll get someone to do a nice website, let's say, or the other way around. They'll do like a great looking poster, and then they'll kind of mishmash something together on a website, or the actual pitch or brochure, let's say, that they're doing. It looks like it was printed out on a piece of white paper with some words on it and maybe a photo in the corner, whereas the other option. So when you're putting all these packaging things together and you look back, is there a sort of more successful template or something that people really need to think about when it comes to approaching you about doing something visually that's going to really work to say turn a script into something a bit more appealing to look at?
Let me think. Like, I think it still goes back to yeah, giving as much information as the the writer or the producer has about the project. I think, yeah, it just goes back to having all that reference and giving the designer artist all the info needed to generally start working on the visuals.
And I guess maybe I'm being hyper specific here, because when it comes to film, as a writer or even as a creative producer, you often get the challenge is, how am I going to get someone who's never read this script and hasn't sat down for coffee with me about the idea? How am I going to get them to want to even open the first page on this? And the way to do that, usually, if you sit down for coffee with someone and they're going to give you 5 minutes, they'll say, well, what are you working on? Or let me see something you're working on. And you'll lay down an amazing looking poster with, maybe it's the cover of a bit of a pitch brochure, and they can kind of, and you don't want a brochure to be too extensive. I mean, these are my interpretations. You want it to grab attention. So you open that, and the layout visually of that brochure uses the imagery to kind of draw people in. Again, you maybe just have like a 2-sentence log line that says what the story is about, a little synopsis, and a couple little blurbs about who's in it. And it's sort of like something that whets the appetite. They go, wow, this looks cool. If someone's doing something about space and it's got an amazingly laid out kind of space cover, if someone did that, or it's a horror film that has a really evocative kind of feel to it, all of a sudden they're like, oh, this 1-inch thick pile of white paper that has words on it, I may be a little more interested in reading this now because it has to do with this. And the same goes with how you tie that into the web stuff and things like that. So but I know there are lots of different ways to approach packaging. So yeah, are there any sort of examples of successful collections that you put together that would be highlights maybe for that?
The common theme is like keeping things simple, so that the audience will really just to grab all the necessary information that they need. I shoot mostly with just the product with their angles in white background. Even if we do composites with lifestyle background setting, like if the product is in use, we still put the product in focus and keep the background not as busy. So visually, I would say, for my the work I do, I think also just to keep it simple, to let the audience focus on what you want them to see and not everything else. I think it's the same with like you said, with just the 2-liner log line or something.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the most common packaging mistakes with web presentation or putting together a look for a project? And I'm just dialing into what you're saying about keeping things simple. Yeah. Because I'm often accused of overthinking things and kind of trying to be a perfectionist with a multitude of ideas and seeing if I can fit them all together. And when I think of that, I over the years, I'm trying to get better at this now. I'm still working on it. but
We've all been there.
yeah, like for example, doing a website, you just want to put, everything into it, whether it's, the background history on all these characters and everything. All of a sudden you're presenting a website that has like 20 pages to it, when really, from what you're saying, what you want to do is distill that down into a much more simple visual reference.
The reference point is important, giving all the information necessary to do the project. So yeah, for me, it's the most common mistake, really not having enough information when starting a project. And yeah, from experience, those are the projects that actually like didn't really do well. So having a good reference, giving everybody all the information they need to do their work is, a must.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting balance, isn't it? Because
yeah,
you need to be able to provide ample information, but then distill
but
it
you still it, yeah.
down. Yeah, 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 and get to the core item, so that you don't get distracted by all the peripherals in terms of the ideas. Are there other things that you would caution people to be careful of if they're going to try and venture into packaging, visually packaging their projects?
Um, maybe some people who have come to me that are who came from other designers as well. Their mistake was mostly uh the 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 artist they went to didn't have that much experience yet. Did it's okay to find new artists, but some, maybe check their portfolio and body of work first. If it's the visual style that you are looking for, or if they can achieve what look you're looking for. And yeah, that's mostly what everybody else has, not complained but shared with me over the years, that they went with this guy, although he knew how to do it, but visually his experience and visual library wasn't there yet. So yeah, someone more mature, and a different taste as well. Taste is important. If, for example, if you came to me but my specialty was maybe romantic movies, so an action guy action guy poster with a romantic feel, it wouldn't work. So taste in the connection you make with your the client as well is important.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's very true. Because I guess someone can be highly regarded for their skill, but it's a very specific style, like you said, and if they like doing things about hearts and rainbows and unicorns, and there's a market for that.
yeah.
But you want something that's got a really hard, action-packed edge to it. Even though they're highly skilled, you may be better served by, going to someone who's really got a stronger reference for your style.